Here we are in our first experimentation with the AllPowers S2000 Pro, the 400 watt solar panel hooked up to our hookup. Now this isn't permanent, obviously it's temporary for just this little test we're doing for today. We've just arrived at this lovely CL site. We've been here before. So the idea is that we can live off-grid with the sunshine. We've got 100 watts of solar on the roof. We've got the 400 watts of solar plugged into the S2000, and we've got the S2000 inverter plugged into our hookup on the other side. When I first plugged it in, the van was a bit power hungry. I don't know why, because we've just driven here, so the house battery fully charged. And there was sort of nothing else plugged in, apart from the fridge went on to electric. And I don't know whether it was just bringing it up to standard after being on 12 volt, but the van decided that it wanted us just grab 500 watts out of the S2000 Pro. Now, so that was fluctuating, 480, 550, around there. So sort of it was taking 500 watts. I thought that might have been the fridge just taking all that power. So I switched the fridge off for a minute, let that settle down, see what was happening. The S2000 Pro went to 20 watts output, which is probably just enough to run the inverter. But then I went to switch the fridge back on. It stayed at around 20 watts. So we've now got the van fully on electric. Wendy's just made a cup of coffee, put just enough in the electric kettle to make 2 cups. And I'm just going to have a look to see how much power that's taken and whether we're able to sort of boost it back up. Bearing in mind we've got 300 amp hours in the house battery, which is fully charged, and we've got 120 amp hours in the S2000, so we can recharge the S2000 a couple of times off the house battery. If I unplug the hookup, recharge that and then plug it back in, it won't sort of try and leach off itself, as it were. But I was just going to see how much. When I started this experiment, like 10 minutes ago, before Wendy boiled the kettle, it had 87% in there. But I'm looking now, and we've got 79%. So that's 8% gone. But the solar panels put in 400 and a bit watts back in, sort of fluctuating a little bit, and the van is taking out 300. From that, my sort of logical brain says, well, if we're taking out 300 and we're putting 400 back in during the day in this bright sunlight, we're not going to be able to run that for 24 hours, I don't think. Maybe the fridge comes in and goes out and won't be taking 300 or 400 watts all the time. So I'm just going to keep a check on it. In fact, let's just take you over and give you a bit of a view of the display and what we're actually doing. So yes, we're getting 417 watts in, and variously somewhere, well, it's going down to 18 and up to 300. I think that's the fridge kicking in and out. I'm not sure whether you can actually see those figures on there. Yeah, so you see them fluctuating, and we've got 76% in, and it says down there that this will last 99 days like this. So I'm going to leave it plugged in for the afternoon. The S2000 Pro is performing as expected with the 400 watt solar panel dragging in more than 400 watts. Always a great thing when that happens. We do have direct sunlight just right up there. I've got the panel angled for best effect, obviously, and the last time we were able to do that was when I did the initial test on the AllPowers S2000 Pro with the 400 watt panel, and it was getting just over 400 watts. Then I was amazed, because I know normally a wattage on a panel isn't what you would expect to see. You always get a lot lower, especially those ones on the roof. You know, when we have a look at putting 600 watts on the roof, you know, unless we've got direct sunlight overhead, I don't really expect to get any more than about 300 or 50% of those, especially on times like today when you've got that sort of flat aspect of the solar panel and the sun is over here pointing down like that. At the moment I've got that 400 watt pointed like that, so it's coming directly at it, but when you do that and lay it flat, a lot of it's just not. I don't know what the 100 watt panel on the roof produces, but certainly over the last couple of weeks since we've had the new battery, we've been getting during the day about 2.3 amps coming in. I could convert that back, 2.3 amps at 12 volts, so 2.3 times 12 is basically the wattage. I think I'm right in saying that. I'll look it up, I'll put it on screen. I think you can work it back, because there's that sort of magic formula, isn't there? Watts, amps and voltage, and you can work out the other one from the other two. Yeah. But anyway, so I hope I'm hoping that we can actually look at like being completely off grid. And bear in mind, you know, when the solar panel's not working or there's no sun, we've got 300 amp hours in the house battery. We've got another 1500 watt hours in the R1500 and 2000 watt hours in the Bluetti. So if we can keep those charged up, plus we've got the 50 amp engine charger, so if I need to, you know, I can plug the AllPowers into the house battery, recharge that, bearing in mind that just takes, so 100 amp hours going in there will take 100 amp hours out of there, and that's a 300 amp hour battery, so about a third. Yeah, so I feel like we're going to be able to go hookup style without actually being on grid power, so off grid with hookup power, with, you know, with inverter power, if you like. Seems to be working. I know, you know, this has only been like a 20-minute test so far. I've no idea what that is now. I'm going to look and tell you. It's about 10 minutes since we last looked at the percentage on the S2000 Pro. It was 76% then, and we've got 400 watts coming in. We've got the kettle was used, and we've got the fridge, which actually takes a lot of power. I'm watching it and it goes down to sort of nothing, like the 20% to run the inverter, or the 20 watts to run the inverter, and then up to 300 or 400 it sort of fluctuates between maybe 280 to 380 watts. So it's bouncing up and down just to keep that fridge cold. Worse on a hot day. So that's a bit weird, isn't it? More sunshine, you want more sunshine, but then it gets warmer, so the fridge needs to work more. But over the last 10 minutes, the S2000 Pro has gone from 76% with that 400 watt panel out and the fridge on and the AC running, down to 75%. So that's using like 1% every 10 minutes or so. Not great, because it's actually going down, which is confusing, because it feels like there's more wattage going in than there is coming out. So I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe we just turn off the AC when we don't really need it. It's a bit confusing, isn't it, when you're getting like over 400 watts in and roughly an average of 250 watts out. You should be boosting up the percentage, but it's going down. So I've switched off the AC on the S2000 and given it a few minutes, like 5 minutes, and it's gone from 75 to 77%. So it's charging nicely off the solar panel in this weather, so that's really good. But we'll see how we get on. We're working in a different way than I've worked before with inverters. I mean, the last time we had a big inverter, we had the Auto Trail Comanche, the Victron 3 kVA multi-plus inverter charger, but our hookup, when you plugged in the hookup cable, that went to the inverter charger, and the inverter charger then came out and went to the van. So all the shore power came through the inverter charger, whereas I suppose we're not using shore. I mean, we're using the S2000 as shore power, but I don't know. It's a 2.4 kilowatt inverter, and I don't remember the specs exactly, but I think it'll go up to 4,000 watts as a surge. So quite a good battery bank. We're really pleased with it. I suppose it depends how much you want to rely on 230 volt appliances. I mean, it is better to run electric if you can get the electric for free from the solar, and while you're driving, charging up, not exactly free because you're having to run your engine, but it feels like it's free to boost up. So I don't know. It might be. I don't think, because the cable that runs from the house battery, from the leisure battery, the 300 amp hour battery, to the AllPower is only delivering 100 watts. If we want to run the fridge from that on 230 volt, not efficient. It's just not going to keep up. Although there's plenty of power in the 300 amp hour to recharge the AllPower 120 amp hour, I think there's plenty there, but it just takes a long time to do that, and I'm not entirely satisfied, if that's the right word, with how that's configured. It might be that we add another boosting device, I don't know, maybe somebody suggested the Bluetti Charger 1. I think that's sort of like a it's sort of like an Orion XS that it takes the 12 volt power, boosts it up and delivers loads of amperage. So I don't know, I'm going to really investigate that a lot more. So yeah, but the test is going well. I'm really pleased. We're able to have some hookup, we're able to use an electric kettle when we want to, and then, you know, maybe that's what we'll do. We'll just use the electric appliances, have the fridge on gas for most of the time, and then recharge off of solar and the engine as and when we need to. Maybe that's the best way. And then over time, I mean, the plan is to actually change the fridge out. If the fridge ever breaks down or goes wrong, three-way fridges tend to break down after a few years. It'll let us down at some point. I know it will. You know, we'll have frozen food in there, and we'll wake up one morning, there'll be water, or come back from a day out and there'll be water all over the floor because the fridge has just defrosted, and we'll lose a load of frozen food. But you know, when that happens, I think we'll set aside, or we'll start to save up to replace the fridge. I think you've always got to have a contingency fund, haven't you? Save up to replace the fridge, but we'll replace it with same size and shape 12 volt only, because that will then get fed off of the 300 amp hour leisure battery we've got under this seat, which will be perfect, and then everything else can get fed off of the AllPowers inverter. I think that'll be a better answer, and then, you know, we'll just be able to plug things directly into that rather than have the hookup. You know, because the hookup would then use the power bank stored power to recharge the leisure battery. Crazy stuff how this all works. Anyway, I think that's enough of letting you know how things are going on. I think we'll do some more testing, you know, over time, and I'll report back at a later date. Hope that's been helpful and useful to you in terms of how power banks work and how you might use those in a off-grid situation to power your van. And stay tuned for more of that sort of stuff, and more of our travels. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye for now.
Bye.